Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask an Expert. Our guest today is Mr. Steve Razidlo, the new director of the American School of Doha. Mr. Steve, hi, welcome to Ask an Expert.
Well, hello, it's wonderful to be here, and I'm just thrilled to be starting my tenure here as director at the American School of Doha. We are, I think, as many people know, a school of long standing in the Doha community, and we're excited to be here and talking today.
Great. We have a few questions that we would like you to answer. Can we start?
Absolutely.
Okay. The first question is, how is the American School of Doha responding to COVID-19?
Well, I would start by telling you that we are working hand in hand with our ministry partners, with both the Ministry of Public Health and the Ministry of Education and Higher Education to meet their social distancing and hygiene requirements. You would see as you came into the school today that much of the apparatus that we see around Doha, from temperature checking to Etheraz checking to social distancing for the queuing to even come into the school, has been changed and been developed over weeks and weeks over the course of the summer before we got our people back here in August to start. So we're doing a lot of following of ministry dictates. Certainly for social distancing and hygiene. We have been responding through developed protocols to cases as they come up in school communities. And probably most importantly, we've changed the model of delivery for our education for students. And we've done that in consultation with other school heads and other school communities across town, across the city. And worked in partnership again with the Ministry of Education and Higher Education to run our schools in a de-densified way, meaning to your viewing public that we all know that not all school kids in most schools can go every day and attend school. We are running here at American School of Doha an A day and a B day for half of our students on one day, half of our students on the next day.
Okay, so the rest, you do have online education, of course.
We have we first this fall were closed, as all schools were last spring, but we were first closed in what we call a distance learning program. Now we call it Tanin Virtual School. Tanin is for our mascot, the Dragons. We're the Dragons here at the American School of Doha, and proud of it. But we started in distance learning mode, and we ran that for approximately 3 weeks, and then we opened to the new hybrid plan that the government said at the start was going to be more of an interim plan, but it's become more of the plan for how our school has been operating really since September 20.
What is the impact of the pandemic on the students?
I think the pandemic, first of all, it's tough to make a generalization for all of our students, but I will make some generalizations for what we've seen as some themes coming out of dialogue that we've had with our counselors, with our families, directly with our students. The effect of the students is that many of them are thankful for the opportunity to attend school, even on an every other day basis. When we surveyed our high school kids, for example, they were just thrilled to be back. Yeah. And when we talked about if their lessons were too long, too difficult, whether or not the Room and Zoom format that they're kind of living their high school years in right now is effective for them. Their first blush response to us was they were thankful to be back in school. Socializing, being around one's peers, being able to learn together in a collaborative learning environment, the likes of which we try to provide here at American School of Doha, was key to our kids. And I would say at the high school, at the elementary, at the middle, at the upper elementary and lower elementary both, kids are happy to be with each other. Even half at a time. We have noticed and are paying careful attention to some of the themes that also come from counselor and family discussions. that the pandemic and the reliance on having to learn at home on an off day, or at home completely when the school is closed, as it was last spring, has been hard on some of the students who learn best in that collaborative environment. And again, it's a generalization that doesn't work for all kids, but we have some students who have not been able to be successful engaging in Zoom classes, who have not been achieving at the similar high levels to before the pandemic, because they're not getting that daily feedback loop in the same way from their teachers and from their peers, and they are not able to grow and develop because they just don't have as much time in classroom. Imagine a first grader learning how to hold a pencil and writing for the first time. Yeah. Imagine a language learner who only gets a live lesson every other day or every fourth day. Imagine trying to study music or to be in the throes of learning high rigor classes in the sciences or the maths or the humanities up at the high school level when you can only come to school every other day. Our teachers and our kids have been phenomenal, though. I have to give hats off to educators, not just here, and not just here at our school, but all across the city of Doha and truly across the world. Teachers who are doing dual duty, and students who are changed in a learning platform from being able to come and learn with a teacher, with classmates every day, to oftentimes having a day off in between or multiple days off, or some schools running a week on and a week off. The learning dynamics and the teaching dynamics have changed immensely since the pandemic.
Is learning online as effective as the offline?
I think the verdict is out yet on whether or not we can say that learning was effective. I think overall, yes. Students are still moving their learning pathways forward, but through each and every one of the levels of our schooling, lower elementary, upper elementary, middle school, and high school, we are concerned that we're not able to go as fast and or cover with as much depth. And although we haven't seen a big fall off in some of our assessments, we use a measure of academic progress, we use other classroom-based assessments, we are concerned about how long this period will last and what will be the learning effects as we come out the other side of the pandemic.
Okay. How do you think the pandemic has affected students and teachers' well-being?
As I think I was alluding to just a couple of minutes ago, some of the well-being concerns that we have for students who do not do well alone. Too many kids are in study rooms or nooks or bedrooms doing their studies by themselves for too long, and the isolation is evidencing itself with some of our school-aged children. I certainly will not be saying that only on behalf of the American School of Doha. It's noticed by the leaders around the city here, and my former colleagues in Europe and my former colleagues in America are also saying that the well-being of students is becoming, and the well-being of staff is becoming a priority that is emerging of greater need in this pandemic, because we're all wondering about the isolation and some things like depression that set in when you're not talking with peers, when you're not getting the attention of a caring, nurturing educator that is part of what we provide here And really part of an American style of education is a nurturing quality of the relationships between students and their teachers. And that's taken a real hit in the pandemic.
Good. How do you think, Mr. Steve, Qatar has handled the pandemic?
Well, I must, with a great deal of humility and gratitude, and having come from America and my last placement in Europe before this year here in the Arabian Peninsula, I must say with humility and with gratitude that I think Qatar as a nation has managed the virus exceptionally well. In other parts of the world, the case counts are running rampant. In my old school community in Europe, the caseloads are much higher, and the school closures have come back around again. We are hopeful that we will avoid countrywide closure. We're thankful for some of the limitations and the conservative nature of the care that the Ministry of Public Health has taken, not only to the whole of the country, but to the interaction with schools and individual cases. We've been very careful to keep our bubbles, if you will, the groups of students, with some strong limits around them. And personally, in a campus that I think has some exceptionally well-sized classrooms. Yeah. I've been in 4 other schools in Doha in my brief time here, and I know that we have large-sized classrooms, spacious hallways, a lot of beautiful outdoor space to disperse aerosols. We think that we will be ready just as soon as the government is ready to open the schools more fully, beyond the current limitations that we have for classrooms and total capacity. And we'll be ready to do more, but we're thankful. We're thankful that we've been kept safe and open. And we would much prefer a de-densified, reduced capacity opening and the chance to get some education live happening with our students than to be fully closed. It is a very taxing and wearing dynamic on families to have your little ones home for part of the time and then in school for part of the time. And we know that moms and dads and families have really, really stepped up to the plate to take care that this pandemic doesn't spread any more than it has. Just today, some 300 of our students are being tested to, again, participate with the Ministry of Public Health's dictates across the country. And we're excited to play a role in providing data points to the government and the ministries for use in engaging when it is safe to have a fuller reopening of the schools. We're thankful to be a part of that program, and again, very gratified that the overall situation of the pandemic here in Qatar has been contained, managed well, and that vaccinations, as of last evening, have been announced for some of the teaching staff, or for the teaching staff across the country. So some of our people have already received a vaccination and are lining up to play a part in that effort as well. Great.
Our last question is, what do you think the future of education will be even after the pandemic?
You know, we don't know all of the good that will come out of the work that we have done to respond to a situation like COVID-19. Yes. But there will be opportunity coming out of this crisis and this worldwide retooling that schools and businesses and institutions are doing. From the Arabian Peninsula to every corner of the globe, school people are getting together saying, what are we going to harvest from this time? We've all become masters at employing and implementing new tools like Zoom. And how will that go forward? How will we do professional development? How will we work with students who cannot attend school, who may be in the future medically fragile or stuck out of country? Will we run some new models that take forward some of the tools that we have learned into a new era of education? I believe that there will be some strong hold on some of the digital tools that we're making our everyday, that are making their way into everyday classroom. And I don't think we'll give all of those up when we can come back fully. I will say that we are proponents, and I'm a full believer that learning best happens in a live room with a live teacher. You and I are speaking with each other right now, and for teachers and students to have that kind of a community in a classroom is a special opportunity. And to get kids together face to face as quickly as we can, as quickly as it's safe to do so, will be one of our continued quests here at the American School of Doha, and I think across this city. And going forward, my belief is that professional learning for staff will be different. We're learning a lot about how to access professional learning online. Some of our meeting structures, it's amazing that we haven't had parent Zoom calls with 300 parents before. And I think it's a quick and an easy way to have some pretty live communication with the community. What will we take from the pandemic like that will be positive and productive to schools, even as we continue to maintain that celebrating the live environment is really where we want to be.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Steve. We really appreciate all the information you have provided us with. This concludes today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next episode.